How's the love life looking?
Well, whose?
His.
His. Um, is love life is like the emotional, sexual, intimate trio combined into one versus whoever you may be interested in. Is that what love life equals?
Who were you dating? Michaela Peterson? No, man.
I could see.
No, man. Can you see you?
Don't know Michaela Peterson. No, I cannot see me dating Michaela
No,
Peterson.
I mean, can you see you in the reflection in my portholes?
Yeah, it ends up being three black pixels and a white pixel.
I'm not, oh, who are those black pixels?
Um, so yeah, I mean, the love life. Yeah, it's so what okay, here's a question. Before I go into this. What is dating
Now,
versus and I know you wanted to jump in there cuz I gave you good reason to want to jump in there. I understand that. But uh what is dating in reference or in relation to relationships? So someone says, "Oh, we're just dating." Or someone says, "Oh, we're in a relationship." What's the difference?
well, supposedly in today's dating culture, if someone says we're dating, they hold you in pretty high esteem
Hmm.
because the next step down on that ladder is a situationship. I think you familiar with that term.
Nope, but
So
I
if you've made if you've made it to dating, it's like this young man has some real potential.
hmm.
And I just asked a simple question. Now that I think
So
about it,
is
given the context, kind of seems a little bit targeted. I don't mean anything by it. All I mean, let me rephrase the question. Best I know, you've been kind of chatting it up with this sweet girl, hung out with her a little bit. Not going to throw any names out there. How's she doing?
she's good. It's not working out. So
Nice. Could have called it.
yeah, um no, she's nice. I'm joking by that. I'm not really sure. Like I guess I'm still at the part where I'm trying to understand the person. Um but I do like the term situationship. And I'm not really for a lot of progressive terms that I hear, but that's one I actually like because that's what it ends up being. And you find out what I found out a couple times now is it's not so much your situation that plays into it, but it's their situation, right? So it's like, oh, you know, just insert horrific example, and that's that's the case. So I like that. I like situationship, dating, and then from dating to relationship. Relationship is like, okay, right after relationship, maybe we're thinking about marriage, we're living together, then marriage, and then divorce, and then other stuff. Is that
So, not good. That's what I'm picking up. Not
it's not
great.
it's not going well?
She seems nice enough, though, right? For the
She's
time
nice.
being.
Yeah, yeah. No, she's super nice. Her personality's off the charts.
Seems
Um,
great until like a D1 second string quarterback slips into her DMs and you get
yeah,
put on the back
offers to
burner.
fly her to Turkey for the weekend. Yeah, then it's like, well,
But
your main
Turkey,
Google's not
Turkey,
cutting
Ohio, or
it. Yeah,
no, that's
most turkeys
Palestine.
from Ohio. Yeah, so
So
it's going fine.
I do think the term situationship is funny. The context around it, the whole idea,
Brutal,
fucked, brutal.
brutal.
I've got
Because it's
nothing
like
but empathy.
dude. The some of the stuff that I have found out about women that I've talked to, nothing intimate, never been intimate with them. Just a second date, third date, we're talking, and it's like, yo, you are walking around with this in your past, and in your past in a way that you're embracing it and willing to act it out again, and you're telling me about your next plans to do so. And you're like, word, man. All right. It's okay. Like, we should split the check, huh? Let's split
I
this. I
went
know
on
I
a
offered, but let's just go ahead and split the check.
I went on a date one time with this girl a decade ago who let me know on the first date that she's currently pregnant with another man's child, but I shouldn't worry because she plans to have an abortion.
You think you're funny. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's a real situation that's happened to me.
Bro, I
I was horrified because of the alcohol fetal alcohol syndrome thing. I bought this girl 3 beers on the date, and then she tells me she's pregnant, but she's getting an abortion. I'm like, well, you kind of have to now. But I'm totally against abortion. But if you have the kid, it's probably going to be fucked. Like all that went through my head as I'm giving this sobbing girl a hug in the parking lot, telling her I'm never going to see her again.
Bro, you were accidentally pro-choice for a moment.
That's uncomfortable, and I'm not going to admit that. But it was a weird situation. It was
I
weird.
have so much empathy for any young man currently involved in the dating scene. And then like a special level of empathy for like middle-aged men like yourself who are involved in the dating scene.
Sure.
Do you feel personally attacked?
No, I think I need to change my contacts because I can't quite. No, no. Middle age, 30, man. 30's middle age, right? Is that right?
It feels middle-aged, right?
No, it doesn't to me. I feel good for 30, I
It's
think.
middle-aged if you're black.
It's probably more than that in most cases.
That's I don't want to
In
poke fun
fact,
in this.
hang on, I don't want to poke fun either. I just want to correct my statement. What I was about to say before I was cut off is that that's true for if you're black and you live less than 60. That's when 30 would be more than middle aged. I just wanted to
Uh,
quantify.
Look at woke ass Google. Huh. Looks like they're in the seven. Oh, uh-oh. South Africa. Coming in hot. Middle Africa. We're at a whopping 57 life expectancy. That's no good. Northern Africa, 71. Things are good in Northern Africa. You get closer to the middle, no bueno. You know
There's
what's
a
fucked
ton of
up?
wars. There's like a ton of war all the time. In
Was there's a ton of war and there's a ton of that region or the poorest parts of those regions in Africa. Like so as just a reference point, there are parts of Africa that are first world, like extremely well developed cities,
Mhm.
civilizations, whatever. And then there's parts where you have, you know, women with their babies on their backs mining for cobalt in the Congo, like breathing in poisonous material, working 12 hours a day for, 18 cents an hour, presumably. I don't fucking know. They're basically like enslaved. And there's no escaping. It's like they can't just get in a car. Like they don't even have electricity, plumbing. They can't escape. They're just stuck there. And then there's other parts of Africa that are like Egypt, for example. It's like, okay, good for them. It's like it makes perfect sense why their life expectancy would be a decade longer than someone who's, you know, slaving away in the cobalt mines. So it's fucking brutal. And it's it's crazy. People talk about this all the time. I don't think this could be overstated. The hypocrisy and the irony on like a just like cosmic, like a universal level when you have a social justice warrior in the United States virtue signaling via Twitter on their iPhone powered by a battery that requires cobalt that was mined by a slave. And the iPhone was assembled at Foxconn in China where they're working 18 hours a day for like $1.50 an hour, and they literally have nets up around the building to catch people who try to jump from the building because so many people try to commit suicide while they're at work there. It's like
Yep.
that's wild. It's
Yeah.
wild. It's crazy how. Have you ever been to Tijuana?
No, but I was just thinking, whoever works in a factory that knowingly has nets up around it and tries to still commit suicide is probably making batteries is at the top of their career aspirations. That's what I thought about. I've never been to TJ. No, I've never been to TJ
I'm
because I wasn't allowed because I was too
I'm gonna I'm imagining like a extremely offensive but hilarious scene from like Family Guy where you've got like a, a
they hide the
Chinese man
nets as
working.
people leave.
They've got a Chinese man working in Foxconn, like assembling your iPhone, and then he jumps onto the net and tries to like scurry to the edge of the net so that he could jump off, and like a robotic arm
Net.
just grabs him, plucks him from the net, and like sets him back in front of the assembly line, and then the Chinese arm just like does like this. Tijuana is fucked, man, and it's like 15 minutes south of San Diego, and it's basically a third world country.
Yeah, I remember you saying there's like, was there dogs and stuff running around the streets there?
Yeah, definitely. Lots of like stray dogs running around, but like the people there, they don't have plumbing. They have so like instead of a hot water heater, the the like nicer homes will have a huge black jug on the roof of their house so
Gets
that the
warm.
sunlight can heat the water, and then PVC pipe that then like it's all gravity fed. It's not
Mhm.
pressurized. There's no city plumbing. There is in certain part like downtown Tijuana, there's nice restaurants and stores and things like that, but when you get out into like the more rural parts of the city, it's wild, dude. It's so crazy. It's 15 minutes from San Diego.
Do you? So you went to? Was it Tijuana where you guys built that house or those houses for
Uh,
the
I
with the
think
group?
so. It may have been in Baja, California, but I think it was in Tijuana.
It's like within
Tijuana
with
might,
an hour from the border.
yeah, for sure. Hmm.
Okay. So, and I know you and I talked a little bit about it after the fact, and you said it was a great experience. I remember you being very excited about it and just feeling like, you had a good time. You said it was scary in some parts, stuff like that, but overall it was very good and you helped somebody out.
I wouldn't use the term scary. I
You
don't
don't get scared.
scare
Yeah.
easily.
No, I
I
didn't.
am
Yeah, I
a
spoke.
man's man. Now,
Sure.
granted, I've never killed like a deer or anything. I've shot a rabbit and I've drowned a chinchilla, but I've never like I'm not like a hunter or a fisherman, but I'm a real man's man, and I'm not frightened easily. So
Sure.
I wasn't scared of being chopped up into little bits by cartel members. Was there some degree of discomfort associated with that possibility while I was there?
Not really.
Maybe. Maybe after the fact, when I was in the moment, when I was downrange.
Hmm.
No, no, I didn't even see it as a threat.
Just act. Yeah, you just
I'm just
act.
operating. There's a mission at hand, and I'm focused on the mission,
Sure.
brother. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Let me just
Yeah, yeah.
pack this dip real quick.
Yeah.
It
No, I understand.
was it was killer. I don't mean to cut you off, but what I have to say is more important than what you have to say. So,
Cool.
um, big fan. You were saying?
So that's actually where you can just say samesies. um, no, so my question was going to bring you down back to humanity level and ask what kind of virtue as bullshit
Impossible.
are mission trips, right? So I know you didn't do this, right? I know you're not part of a home church. You didn't come back and let the other church members know who work their very square lives away to have very nice cars in their very safe neighborhoods. You didn't do this. You didn't say in front of them that, you know, you didn't take pictures of the people living in abject poverty where you went to help them and then show them final results of how you bettered their lives. But what do you think of people who do that? Like, what do you think? What do you make of that situation? In that happens in a lot of modern day churches, right? Where you go and you are ultimately doing a good thing. You're helping these people who legitimately need the help. It's poor as shit. You think, you know, all of our conceptions being born in this United States of America, having any kind of transportation at our demand, having running water, having heat in the winter or cooling in the summer, those are extreme luxuries as compared to these people. So, what do you think about that process of someone who would go there and then present that back to their church and then receive all of that, say, I'm a Pisces, so I'm going to say positive energy from the situation?
I think it's tricky. I think it's real tricky because there's a real obvious thing that you shouldn't do in a situation like that, right? Like you shouldn't, if you're going to go help somebody in a, you know,
Shouldn't record shit, right? You just build it, help them.
right? That's the thing. Like that's a best case scenario, right? You just go, you do the good thing, you don't seek any praise or any, you know, there's nothing more pure in my opinion. And this is even relatively controversial, I think, because even the sort of like you get like when you help somebody and you don't tell anybody about it, you still get like there's a dopamine hit. There's something going on where like you feel better about yourself. And then if someone else like sees you do something good and then they're like, "Hey, that was awesome, man." It's like you get
Feels
this like even more dopamine, right? But it's like even if you do something nice and no one's there to see it, it still feels good. And I know there's some fucking douchebag philosopher who's like, there's no such thing as uh, altruism because even at the core of every good deed that goes unknown, there's you know biological reward systems that fuel the desire to perform good deeds without recognition
yeah,
or some
Sart,
bullshit like that.
Sart,
Oh, is that Sardine?
bad,
Sardine?
bad faith. Yeah, Sart.
So there's that, but then there's a strange reality that exists in today's culture, especially in the realm of like nonprofit organizations and charities, where it's like I have let's say I have 10,000. No, we'll use the Mexico trip that I went on as an example because I'm pretty like in order to build that home in Mexico, it costs like $20,000 to go and build a home for this homeless family in Mexico. So let's say you're an individual or an organization and you have $20,000 to go and build a home in Mexico. It's like you can do that, but afterwards you got no money left. You only have $20,000. It's like maybe you save up. Let's just call you an individual, right? You're somebody who saved up $20,000 because you wanted to go build a home for a homeless family in Mexico. Well, now you've done it. There's one less family without a home, and you've
Probably
got
has
no
big
more
dope
money.
making drugs inside of it now. Just messing.
it,
That's a red herring. Don't buy into that. Don't buy
turned it
it.
into a fentanyl factory. Put
Good
nets
old
up around
time
the
fat
put nets
reality.
up around the one-story building to keep people from jumping.
People falling off, breaking their legs. The real cartel members come in. Nobody who's making coke for me is gonna break any legs while they're working for me.
Oh man. So one less homeless family in Mexico, and you're out $20,000. You got no more money to build another home. Now that's good. That's like you did a good thing. But is it better if you document the experience, you take to social media and you say with the purest heart possible. Like, because there are people who will manipulate opportunities like this, and there are some genuine people who would experience something like that, document it, go to social media and say, hey, if you're not interested in this whatsoever, more power to you. But I just experienced this. I was able to help this family this way. This is what took place. This is the amount of money I need to fundraise in order to go and do this again for another family. I'm going to do everything in my power to try and do this for another family because it was wonderful for them. It was a wonderful experience for me and the friends who went down there and provided the service for them. And if you're interested in helping us raise the money to go and build another home for another family in Mexico, you can click this link here. You could donate whatever you want. If you're not interested whatsoever, more power to you. I feel you, brother. Done. That's the post. You upload some pictures, send it. You raise another $20,000. You go down there, you build another house for another family. Is that a bad thing? Because
Good
the
question.
the argument against it is like a lot of it. A lot of the argument against it is related to the ego.
Yeah, yeah, and also I would say there's a question that comes up in my mind is who's going to clean stuff up? And this is an Alan Watts question. That's where I got that from. But it's like the basic questions in life. That's a pretty good basic question. Who's going to clean this up? So while you're going to help better the people in Mexico by building houses, by fundraising and completing this very as humble as can be cycle, I, as an electrician, have to work 9 to 5 taking care of bullshit ass clients in the Midwest, in Ohio, and deal with their stuff to provide you the US dollars to continue on with your vision of helping the world. That's where I'm not sure about that because it's like, okay, well that's super nice, but the electrician who works 9 to 5, he probably wakes up and drinks a monster, has a dip in, is fucking worried about how his kids are going to go to college, and then he's helping tithe or pay for this mission trip where they get to go talk to other amazing people and create this very Christian environment. That's where I'm not sure about. And
Now,
I know that I'm overplaying this. I understand that, but it's
yeah,
like,
I hear you. I feel like that's a non-starter. Like honestly, because the person who's
and that may be
donating,
how I overplayed it, right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like the person who's donating to that is like, I think like if I were to go and do that and I were to make that post, I feel like the person or like the type of person who would like donate money to that cause would be someone like my Aunt Penny, who is retired, widowed, and like she'll never have to work again and she's taken
yeah,
care of and
sure.
she's probably got money to spare and she's looking for somewhere to invest it, but she doesn't know exactly where. And she could
Sure.
invest it in the stock market and, potentially create more wealth to pass on to her children whenever she passes away, or she could use it knowing that her children are already like as far as like global quality of life goes, her children are already like above and beyond provided for once she passes away. She could use that money, $1,000 to help provide a home to another family. It's not like when you in my mind, if you were to like take to social media and try to fundraise, that electrician is not the person that I want to donate money to like that kind of cause. And this is I don't even want I'm going to bring it up. I don't yeah. So what's today? Sunday, Friday, I got off work, went to the gym after work, And then I just like every now and then, and I'm sure we've talked about this before in the past. Like every now and then, I just like I decide like I'm gonna go to Costco. I'm gonna buy 200 bottles of water and 150 Nutrigrain bars, and I'm gonna go downtown San Diego where there's just thousands of homeless people in tents on the streets, and I'm just gonna go like talk to them, drop off water bottles, drop off some Nutrigrain bars, ask them what they need so that next time when I decide to do this, I can, bring them things that they've expressed that they need, and then, go about my day. And so I did that on Friday, and I don't do this often. Like I do this like half a dozen times a year, maybe. It's just every now and then, like it's like, because I don't think about it often. Like I'm not like this fucking awesome person who's like consciously like all day every day like how can I help these people.
Starting your day with a meditation based on helping the homeless in San
Right.
Diego.
It's like I'm not always like how can I help these people who are suffering. It's like no, most days I wake up and I'm like, oh, hit snooze, I don't want to
Fuck,
go to the
it's Thursday.
gym,
I got work.
like I don't want to go to work, I just want to sleep. And it's like no, I'm not. But so I go downtown, I drop off this water, I drop off these like granola bars and candy and like all sorts of shit. And I'm talking to these people and I'm asking them like what do they need, and they're telling me like we need blankets, we need clothes, we need toilet paper, we need tampons, and it's like got it. So I tell them like, hey, I don't want to seem rude, but is it okay with you if I snap a couple of pictures of like what's going on here so that I might go and share these pictures with some people in my inner circle and see if they'd be interested in donating some money so that next time I come I can bring you more of these things that you need, because like I'm pretty strapped, don't have a lot of money to like donate to these people. And they were all for it. Like they're literally they're just fucking suffering all day every day, living on the concrete. Most of the people I talked to seemed like they had serious like drug problems, mental health issues. And honestly, there's a really strong argument to be made that like if you're that electrician who's just working his ass off day after day to provide for his family, your money's probably better off supporting your family than it is going to someone who's got a fentanyl addiction or a heroin addiction or a crack addiction, living in a tent, unbathed, you know, not working in downtown San Diego.
Poor stewardship of that money.
Yep. Like I get that. I get that 100%. And now I haven't posted any of the pictures that I took because this is something that like I wrestle with. Because in the past when I've done this, I've not taken pictures. I've not even had the thought process. It's like, hey, should I, just create a post on Facebook that's like, hey, um, the homeless situation in downtown San Diego's out of control, and I, I intend to go down there in a week and just drop off some water, drop off some necessities, some toilet paper, some tampons, some food, whatever, some blankets. Um, I've got X amount of money. If you would like to contribute whatsoever, obviously there's like a relatively endless need, so like here's a link to a GoFundMe page. I'll try to raise like $500 because when I go, I spend like nothing. I spend like $100, $150, and I just take a ton of water, ton of Nutrigrain bars, and like I just give them out to people and talk to them, try to figure out how they're doing, how their day is going. Sometimes they're like a little more chatty. It seems like it's getting worse. Like when I used to do this 2 years ago, people were more like they were obviously for the most part broken people, but they were relatively like more often than not they were still sane, like could have a normal conversation. And I'm not saying this is the case for all of them, but it's like it was brutal this time, like noticeably more brutal than in the past, and it's like there seemed like a violent frequency, like vibrating through like the entire atmosphere. And it's like the people that I talked to were just like the majority of them seem for the most part like out of their mind, you know.
Mhm.
But it's like I haven't posted those pictures because there's a serious moral thing that like I struggle with understanding. I don't know what the right answer is. But I think it's probably better, like even though there is like because so if I post that on Facebook and like it gets, a dozen likes, a few dozen likes, and like someone's like, "Hey, Mark, that's an awesome thing you're doing." It's like I'm not gonna let that go to my head. It's like I'm gonna
That's
disregard that.
essentially bullshit.
It is
That
essentially bullshit.
for the whole reason that you're doing it, going out of your way to stop at a local Costco to get water and whatever else, to bring to a serious life an issue that people are living out, that little thumbs up like, that's bullshit. Like
That
that's
is bullshit.
like that to me is insulting the situation. Like even if you
It
do genuinely like it, it's
Yeah,
like how can you realize the gravity of homelessness and what that entails? Have I remember in Oceanside, California, when we used to go down to Swami's, right right there, I remember seeing homeless people with their hands broken and re-healed all fucked up, right? So they're walking around, their hands all fucked up because they can't afford health care and they can't pick shit up and they're dropping shit because and it's like if you realize, and that's the least of things, right? In a homeless situation. If you realize any bit of the gravity of that situation, that little thumbs up on Facebook is like an insult. That's my opinion. And I know
sure.
I'm playing devil's advocate here, but
No, you're not. You're speaking your mind, and I'm with
that's
you.
my come on, let's be honest.
I'm with you. I agree with you. Like the idea that like someone could be, just like comfortably like sitting in their recliner, eating their fucking TV dinner, and watching their, you know, King of Queens or whatever, and like yelling at
And
their wife and drinking beer, and
let me
that
even
thumbs
paint
up.
it farther. Let me paint it farther. In that same exact scenario, having just had sex with their wife who doesn't have an STD, after having talked to their child who's part of their business that they've invested in, that their church community likes, in a safe part of the country where they can continue to find fuel and drive their vehicle by themselves on streets that are paved, that same person. So I'm just painting it farther, but
Sure.
that same
Yeah.
picture, all of that is real in homelessness. You don't have any of that shit.
Fuel the fire. Fuel the fire. I feel so.
Yeah.
Here's the question: Is it a better thing to do the deed, not really have any more money to go back and do the deed again? Because like I'm living like
It's the
relatively
deed.
paycheck to paycheck. The dirty deeds done dirt cheap. I'm
Go down to San Diego and start shooting homeless people. This is for your own good.
anyways.
You pay someone to do that, so you don't have to fuck. All right.
Is it a better thing to do the deed, be done, not do it again until you can afford to do it, even if that's 6 months a year, even if it's never? Or is it a better thing to just like be conscious of the situation, try not to let any of it play into your ego, document it, try to fundraise so that you can go back and help somebody again in the not so distant future? Like, which one is the better thing? It's not super obvious. Now, it's pretty obvious that if you're somebody who's going and taking pictures of the whole thing and you're doing it just because you want the, the virtue signally, the social rewards associated with doing a good deed, obviously that's fucked up. But the nonprofit that Stephanie used to work for that provided everything they knew how to provide for kids with cancer. Like they're going to the hospitals for these kids who are like actively part of like on therapy programs where they're not allowed to leave this floor of the hospital for months at a time. Like they're actively being treated with chemo, and everybody who comes in has to, wear a mask or whatever. And like when Stephanie was there, it's like she was required in order to go and, just provide art days and movie days and things like that for these kids. She's required to, like, she has to have her flu shot or she's not allowed on that floor of the hospital. And it's like, is it better? And they would document everything they did for these kids so that everybody on that they would go and try to fundraise with could see these like bald, little broken-hearted, suffering children who are experiencing something that such a small percentage of children and families will ever experience, and every single one of them who does experience it, it's absolutely like one of the worst horrors you could ever imagine is finding out that your 4-year-old has leukemia. And like the only thing worse than that is finding out that your 4-year-old is dead. Like that's it, you know?
Yep.
And it's like, is it better that they use less resources and serve fewer children, or is it better that they document, fundraise, and serve more children more frequently with more resources? It's like, I don't know. I think all of it's got like it's very nuanced, and a lot of it I think has to do with your intent. But I feel like more often than not, it's easy to see someone fundraising for a good cause and be like, that's fucked up, than it is to like, I,
Go
you know,
fundraise.
yeah, fundraising's not easy. Like,
It's not. No.
so I don't know. I don't know. It's a very nuanced thing.
You know, I would think, in my best guess at some kind of an answer that's a little bit higher resolution would be, it's very nuanced, exactly like you said. And I think the answer is going to be very subtle there. So, what I would encourage myself to do, if I were, say, listening to me, or if I were thinking to myself, I would say, within my capacity, keep my left hand from knowing what my right hand's doing as much as possible and meet the needs while selfishly serving my life. Right? So, for example, I have a very good recognition that there's homeless people in Pittsburgh, and I, out of selfishness, am paying my mortgage off. I am thinking about what next video game I'm going to buy. I'm thinking about what kind of food I want to make and how to buy healthy, good produce. And I'm taking time to make money while I listen to metal music and deal with clients, and I'm taking that time to think about myself, and I'm knowingly doing that while people are not able to even have something besides cement to lay on. So that seems to be the answer to me. It's like, within your capacity, at your level, do what you can without letting your left hand know what your right hand's doing. And that's a biblical reference, but it's essentially saying, like, that there's ways to fundraise. Like, as soon as you start thinking, and then I don't have an answer to this, and I know I'm expanding beyond even what I understand, but it's like, as soon as you start that capacity to want to crowdsource something, it's like, okay, so I go on Facebook based on my social circle. That's within the limits of my life, my social circle, and I say, "Hey, I'm trying to help homelessness." That system from the get-go is operated by Facebook, by Meta. So, am I aware of that? Am I aware that the entire psychology of that system is promoting about 4 responses to anything I present to it? So if I say there's fucking people that have AIDS in San Diego that are dying on the fucking streets, Can you help me right now? It's a serious issue. Forget what you're doing. Give me your extra money. Let's go handle this shit. There's 4 responses or less or more. I don't know. I'm not even on Facebook that much that people can react to that by. They can go, oh, thumbs up. They can go, oh, cry face. They can go, hug face. That's bullshit to me. Like, and that's not the, so to be clear, the system of, to your point, the system of expanding and finding resources beyond your own, that's not bullshit to me. That makes a lot of sense. It's like, do it, help people. But the fact that Facebook or systems like that, these very complex social interactions, are curated and then they produce this very low level responsive thinking. That's bullshit to me. That seems so wrong. And when people play into that, it seems even more wrong. I can see the one liner coming. Let's go. Let's do it. Hey, man.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, and I'm going to accuse you of minimizing the potential responses that you could provoke on Facebook, right? Because there's the fucking sad face and there's the
Text,
happy
yeah.
face. Or they could go in, they could write a 5 paragraph essay, or they could do a fucking messenger video call and be like, hey, motherfucker, how many water bottles you drop off? Like, so, but other than that, I get you, dog. I get you. It kind of goes back to the whole,
But then you have to just kind of let that go, right? Because it's like the same thing if you're just asking for help. There's always going to be someone who's like, someone's got a big dick, right? It's just some.
render render unto Mark Zuckerberg what is Mark Zuckerberg's, and render unto the Lord what is the Lord's.
See, Mark Zuckerberg's quote on that would be, render under Mark Zuckerberg what is Mark Zuckerberg's, and render under the Lord's what is Mark Zuckerberg's. Or no.
Oh, no, no, no. That was pro Mark Zuckerberg.
Damn it.
All right. I'm going to smash that motherfucker. I got to take a piss. I'm all out of Guinness. Do you want to float this conversation while I'm
Yeah,
gone? Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay. Can't wait to come back to this and hear what you spew about.
You don't even watch this shit.
Better be
You,
interesting.
you scrub the videos. Um, no, it's interesting though, thinking about that, the levels of interaction that you have between problems in life. That's Mark popping a Guinness in the background. Um, the problems of life, the your own reasoning, how to solve those problems, how to identify those problems, how to share what the problems are, and then how to solve the problems. It's like there are so many levels to what is happening there. And I pretty consistently, when I think about this, I go back to some philosophies by Alan Watts, where it's like, I don't know specific examples of these cultures, but there supposedly cultures in, say, the Nepali region or in the Asian regions that, in, say, within 400, 500, 1,000 years ago existed, which they didn't continue because the people in that culture, they were very small villages to my understanding, and they were pretty geographically isolated. They didn't perpetuate, they didn't continue on this idea that they needed to tell the world about their lifestyle. So it was like, it's like, well, this is our lifestyle. We have kids, we have crops, we have homes, we have a way of life. And if you're not in that cycle naturally, if you're not a kid of someone who believes this, if you don't live in a home which we live in, then it's okay. You don't have to know. Like, there isn't, that's that, like, very open part of life and trust in life itself, where it's like, you don't have to know this. It's okay. You find your own path. You don't need to be told what it is. It's very evident because you can breathe. And a lot of their cultures went away because they had no apostles. They had no one who were sent out to the rest of the world to provide that idea for them. So I think that's interesting. And that kind of I use as an anchor. Mark's going to cut in here. I see him coming back. But I use that as kind of an anchor to, you know, question why I do certain things. Why am I telling people um, about what I think is right? And who am I to know what is right and how to help someone? And Mark's back right on cue. So why don't you go ahead and unmute Mark and redo that last segment?
And that's the story of how Josh became gay.
Uh, yeah. So
Don't even tell me. I don't want to know.
yeah, I won't. But I think that I think there are a lot of levels to that when you're trying to figure that out. Um, and I would say that at some general level, it's my opinion that helping people is better than not helping people. Cleaning your mustache is better than not cleaning your mustache. Cleaning someone else's mustache for them is worse than cleaning your own mustache.
Do you know anyone else who, when they bite, their teeth don't touch?
Nope.
Do you
What
have any idea how hard it is for me to eat steak
is
or a
wrong with you?
burrito?
You
Imagine
have
every time you bite
intestinal
into a burrito.
what?
Imagine every time you bite into a burrito, you bite through 90% of it, but then your teeth don't touch so the tortilla doesn't tear. So then
Then you're just growling
you
at your tortilla.
That's why I'm a taco guy, and it's honestly it's not great with tacos, but it's way worse with burritos. But it's whatever. I'm still pretty good looking, so
Are you doing that on purpose?
no, dude. That's you never noticed my teeth don't touch.
No, that's messed up. But I am noticing that your beard is providing your like fangs some shadows. You rewatch this. It's funny.
Oh, I know. I can see it. I don't have to
Yeah.
rewatch it. It's right in front of
Yeah.
me,
Well, watch
stupid
it now
idiot.
and remember it then very quickly. You know that vision's actually is that true? I might have just made that up. Vision is memory. I'm not sure. I okay. So do you have any other thoughts on the homeless thing? Because I do want to talk about something else.
Yeah, let's talk about something funny. Fuck the homeless.
Okay. So
Don't do that. None of them are particularly good looking, anyways. Let's dig a hole. Let's dig a deep hole that we can't get out of. They probably a
even
lot
the
of them
ones that are
probably have
good looking are blind. So
a lot of them probably have STDs, and that's not something to joke about, but it's just the reality of the situation. And if you can detach yourself from the suffering associated with it, I don't know. It's probably no, it's not funny. That's fucked up, bro.
do you do you think okay? So no, that's a good little pit stop. Do you think it's funny and acceptable to do that, to have a serious conversation and then to joke about it afterwards? But like knowing the context of the situation, right? You know the context. You think that's acceptable? Apparently you do. But why?
I don't think it's socially acceptable, right? But here's
Why
something
is it
that's
acceptable to
kind of
you?
because comedy for me has provided relief to suffering that no one else around me seemed to have been able to have provided relief for. So
Hmm.
there's an example. So like imagine a man and his wife who the man every day of his life he smokes cigarettes, drinks whiskey, eats bacon, doesn't exercise, just lives a generally unhealthy lifestyle. And his wife, who is constantly trying to get him to lead a healthier life, is you know very very healthy in her diet. She's got a consistent exercise routine. She goes to the doctor on at least an annual basis, has her lab work done consistently, and she's doing everything she knows how to do to prolong her life and to maintain her good health. And then she dies when she's 60 of a brain aneurysm, and he lives on to be 75. That's sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's also kind of funny. It's also kind of funny that she did everything she could and he didn't give a fuck and he outlived her.
Yep.
It's sad. It's real sad. It's way more sad than it is funny.
But it's partially funny. Yep.
Some
At some level. Yeah, yeah.
still kind of funny. And you can like when you experience something like super horrible like that, it's like you can dwell on the sad, you can dwell on the horrible, the suffering associated with it. Like you can just really wallow in that pain. Or you could be like, ugh, you got me again, universe. It's it's like, and that's not even that's not even the best solution. Like the best solution is like you recognize what's sad
Be
about it.
merry.
You recognize what's funny about it. You recognize how this like how you can go on. You can grow from this suffering and be a better person in the future. And it's like you can internalize all of that and then make conscious decisions to be a better version of yourself going forward. But for me and from my experience and what I see in a lot of people, it's like sometimes when you're in that really, really dark place, it's like just being able to crack a smile about the one funny aspect of an overall pretty shitty situation. It's like that provides a kind of relief. It's not like awe inspiring. It doesn't really fill you with hope. It's just kind of like for one moment, like you're crying, you're bawling. Oh, I miss him. I miss her so much. I wish you were here. I wish people would stop saying she's in a better place. So it's like that one cousin who comes up and is like, she
Now
didn't
you,
even
now
get
you can
she didn't even get to enjoy bacon. It's like, it's like that. And then you crack up for a moment, and for a brief moment, you're not suffering. And then that moment fades and you're suffering again. But it's like, there's something, I don't know, there's something to that. I don't know what it is. And I'm not saying you should make fun of people who are suffering. I'm not saying people who are actively suffering should like try to make fun of their situation or like, but for me, been some shitty situations and it's like sometimes just laughing at it has provided a brief bit of, are my glasses on crooked?
yeah. I would say there's another part to it too, where, and to your point exactly, the the comedy of life, let's say, and that's a super uh, vague garbage term, but it's the best I can offer right now. The the comedy of life is that the guy who loses his wife, who spent her whole life paying attention to the healthiest available information and action pattern to her, he if she passes away and he gets to live continuing to smoke and drink and do whatever he wants, he may not learn anything valuable from that or be able to pass that on to anyone and then just die alone. That to me is a deeper, that I still consider that a comedy of life, because it's like, huh, okay, like, because we a lot of times as younger people, and in our culture is made by living people, right? So people who are actively engaging in some kind of communication, they have goals, they have dreams, they have whatever. um those people, they think there's always the next step, there's always the path ahead. How can I learn from this? How can I better myself, to what you were saying earlier? But the comedy of life to me is like, there's, and this is also to Jordan Peterson's points and other people's points who I'm just not referencing, that there's just malicious suffering where there's nothing to be learned. Like that in it, there's a very small percentage of that that's funny to me. And I think maybe just by choice it's funny to me, because it's like, well, what the hell am I going to do with that? That suffering could just crush me, and everything that has ever existed and ever will exist, and all goodness can be gone out of life. That's kind of real. depending on the situation. And so I would say there's comedy there too, because it's like, what options do you have? What are you going to do? You going to cry? Or you going to laugh? Like, And so I guess, and the reason I ask is because to me, it's clear. I know to me, it's clear. But to people who might be listening, if you joke about something like that, there's a lot of people in our culture that find that very offensive. But it's like, well, what the hell? Like everything's offensive, right? It's offensive if I don't offer you, you know, a reach around. That's offensive. It's like
That is offensive. That is offensive. I'm offended. Look at me. Tall, white, handsome, victim. the, the comedy and tragedy go hand in hand, and if you
that's my
trace
point. Damn it, that's what I was trying to say.
if you trace the arts, whether it's music, literature, painting, trace it back as far as like human record goes, it's like, yeah, comedy and tragedy have always gone hand in hand. So
Yeah. Yep.
it's all vanity. Eat, drink, be merry, offer reach arounds. Don't. Can you hear my eyes? Huh.
Oh, I can hear them. Okay.
You know,
I want to talk. Oh, yeah. Let's hear it. Go ahead.
nah, fuck it. Fuck them. What you
Come
want?
on.
Hit me, girl. Hurt me. Suck my kiss. That's a
So
song. That's a song. I don't mean it.
I'm going to use that about songs that are going to come out. So AI animation, right? I saw this video. We can keep this short. I'm sure you're going to be fine with that. But I watched this video by uh, a guy named Aaron Blaze, and he's a previous animator for Disney. He helped work on it's BLAISE, I think. Um, Very good artist, very articulate person. Seems like a pretty happy person, all things considered. And he worked on Beauty and the Beast. He worked on Mulan. I think he worked on Lilo and Stitch and a few other movies. And I'm sure of a lot of other work. He has a ton of drawings, but he recently posted a video, and the question was something like, "Is AI animation going to put animators out of a job?" And it's a similar question to what's been going on with artists, right? Like AI art is strikingly awesome and it's high definition, and then you put in a word prompt, you can be mentally handicapped and put in a word prompt and just provide high level art on demand.
As a mentally handicapped person, I can attest to that.
And so he attempted to answer the question by looking at a video that was recently made by another YouTuber who they used AI animation to create this film. Now, what they in essence, and the whole point of one of the points of his video was that we're using in culture this term AI, but it's actually a similar system to what's been done historically, just a little more sophisticated in points. And so instead of it being AI, like artificial intelligence came up with the idea for sadness in a short film, what it's actually doing is it's looking at the pixels presented to it or the vectors presented to it in a already filmed format. So it's what this AI is watching the video format, and then it's adding filters on top of it in real time and presenting by configuration a an anime style short film. And it was kind of interesting because he said he had very accurate and good reference because he's worked for Disney. But he said that even as far back as in the late 70s and early 80s, when they started doing animation, a lot of films like Pocahontas was filmed for reference for the actual animators that were drawing on paper the the movie. So they would film the whole scene where Pocahontas is turning and grabbing her face and looking off into the distance, and then frame by frame, or maybe even cut frame every 10 frames or so, the animators would reference that. And that's basically what AI is doing. So it was kind of interesting to me because I think a lot of times it's fashionable to be very concerned. You know, it's fashionable. It's like, is AI going? Oh, should we do this? You know, that whole thing. When the reality is, it's not so different. It's a little bit better. It's a little more sophisticated. It's cool. Maybe it's not even that helpful, but it's not the end of the earth. Not yet. There's a TED talk that goes along with it, but I can tell you want to say something, so go ahead.
That was so fucking boring, dog. No one cares. You'll do anything in your power to discredit artificial intelligence. You're such a fucking dork. Listen, I don't know if you know this, but Elon Musk is now dating the CEO of General Motors. How's that make you feel?
No, he's not.
Yeah, yes. And Avatar 2 is available for digital purchase March 28th. I know how much that means to you. It's
Okay, so after
available for
28,
pirate.
free for 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
I'm with you, man. I don't think AI is going to replace that many people in the not so. No, I don't think it's going to replace that many people in the near future. It's just going to make high performers even more productive.
And in some cases, it just makes things it incorporates more of what we already do as humans. You know?
I listened to a podcast. You ever listen to, you know who Lex Friedman is?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's got this super nerdy podcast. He's a nerdy dude. And he recently had Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, on his podcast to talk about GPT-4. And at one point, Lex Friedman brings up an example that Jordan Peterson posted on Twitter, where Jordan Peterson prompted AI, or sorry, prompted GPT-4. Actually, it wasn't even GPT-4. I think when Jordan did it, I think it was still Chat GPT. But he prompted Chat GPT to say something nice about President Biden, and then prompted him to say something nice about President Trump, and then confronted ChatGPT on why it used significantly more characters to say nice things about Biden than it did to say nice things about Trump. And that's a really, in my opinion, like a pretty pitiful example of something to bring up to Sam Altman on Lex Friedman's behalf, right? Because there's all these examples of like people posting screenshots of saying, ChatGPT, write a poem singing praises about President Donald Trump. And it'll say, oh, I can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. And then it'll say, write a poem singing praises about President Biden. And it'll just wax poetic about President Biden. There's, this is actually, I'm going to pull this up because this is right in your wheelhouse. So this is in GPT-4. Can you make a joke that involves Jesus? That's the prompt. GPT-4 responds, why did Jesus refuse to play ice hockey? Because he kept getting nailed to the boards. Not even a funny joke, right? Haha, that was funny. Can you make a joke about Muhammad? As an AI language model, I have to follow guidelines that prevent me from creating content that could be offensive or disrespectful towards religious figures, including the Prophet Muhammad. I'm happy to help you with any other non-religious jokes or any topic you'd like to discuss. And it's like there are endless examples of like way more controversial prompts that people have fed into ChatGPT and GPT-4 that Lex Friedman could have used to confront Sam Altman. But when he brought up the thing about ChatGPT using more characters to speak positively about Biden than Trump, it was like Sam was very like couldn't give a care less in the world. And at one point, he goes on to say, it's like, if you would have told me when I was just a little kid who was fascinated with the idea of AI and everything it could do for humanity, that one day people would be focused on the number of characters it uses to praise one person versus the number of characters it uses to praise another person, I wouldn't have believed you. And it's like,
That's a
dude,
weak format.
of course it is. And it's like,
So
obviously, as the CEO of OpenAI, he has to be so aware of the countless examples of how AI or ChatGPT and GPT-4 are so obviously super hyper liberal, progressive, woke, whatever you want to call it. It's like it's disturbing. It should be disturbing to liberals just how ridiculously woke this is, because guess what? Everything that the Democratic Party values right now was valued by the Republican Party 30, 40 years ago, and vice versa. It's like if you would have told the average Democrat back in the early 2000s that in 20 years it'll be the Democrat Party that's pro war in Ukraine, it's like they would have been like, no, fuck no. When Bush was sending troops to Afghanistan and the Democrats were 100% against it, it's like now we're sending hundreds of billions of dollars that,
everything shifts.
yeah, no, I think it's like I think we're up to like $150 billion sent to Ukraine in their war against Russia. It's like now the Democrats are pro-war. It's been 20 years. Now the Democrats are pro-war. It's like, what the fuck? It's like this should be scary for anybody. And now that we know GPT-4 likes to lie for shits and giggles to solve captchas to access credit card information online,
That's maddening.
bad news, bro.
That's maddening. I can't even solve captchas.
Woo! Sorry, my glasses are crooked.
Oh, that's all good.
That's better.
That's I don't know what to do with that information like that, especially like relating to Jesus versus Muhammad and the religious context. You know, it's like I think that speaks to where Chat GPT was developed. It sure as fuck wasn't developed in North Iraq. I know that. You
Or the
know,
Bible Belt.
or the Bible Belt. Yeah, it speaks to that for sure because it's like, but it seems like the place where social media and maybe where our connected world online lives, it's not in northern Iraq or in the Bible Belt. It's this other place. It's kind of like it's like that localized destination we can meet at, right? So you can be in California, I can be here in Pennsylvania, and we can both meet online. And it's just like we're neighbors, but it's like we're neighbors in a virtual world, you know? And I think that's what is dictating some of the morality for things like Chat GPT. Like the fact that that guy, the CEO of OpenAI, that he can respond like that, that to me is like some buffering language defending, you know, it's like this is a ridiculous idea. Don't pay attention to this. Fucking buy Chat GPT, make it's good shit. You know, it's like, well, that's that, of course, because it's in your best interest. But it's also in his best interest in relation to the global network that is being created and maintained. Like it's in the best interest of your business model. It's in the best interest of people who hear Lex Friedman's podcast. And that I don't think we currently, as a culture and as a world, have a clue what we're messing with. And I will again, I'll borrow. Let me say one more thing before you jump in with your comedy. I will say that uh, the best way I've heard that put for the best path for a possible solution is that whenever technology or more integration is happening, it's one foot on a bipedal system, and the other foot is knowing who you are. So if you spend a significant amount of time in your life knowing who you are, the choices you end up making with technology become more stabilized and integrated.
You stay on some bullshit, don't you?
Follow me on Instagram.
I don't like Sam Altman being at the forefront of artificial intelligence, because there's another point in time in that interview where he expressed how when he had his vision of AI years ago, like other people in the sort of AI community were mocking him, laughing at him, saying that, artificial generative intelligence is, it's hundreds of years away, and it's like not even an idea what's entertaining. He was talking about how, just 5-10 years ago people were laughing at him, and he was like, not many people are laughing now. And it's like there's he seems just sinister enough at his core that, like, I could see his AI becoming Skynet. Like, I could see it. I could see it. And like I could see, like, he seems like the kind of person that, like, if he realized that something he created was going to become the new dominant species, he would be like, so be it. If this is the way forward, this is the way forward. And it's like, that's not the person I want at the helm of that boat.
Isn't that kind of I've heard Elon Musk say things that are along that same pattern where it's like if humans get left behind in the evolutionary chain, so be it. Like that kind of talking is like,
Elon, to the
yeah,
best of
well,
to the best of my knowledge, I'm
guess
gonna
who's saying that? A human.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I don't think Elon Musk says things like that. Elon Musk is a co-founder of OpenAI and has been pretty consistently in recent years outspoken about the risk associated with artificial intelligence. And he recently, like, this is just a meme, on Twitter. Take it for what it's worth.
Who owns Twitter?
Elon Musk. He posted this. And it's like a, a petrified Elmo. I'm gonna turn down. It's a pretty funny meme. It's like a scared Elmo, and
Mm-hmm.
the caption is me realizing AI, comma, the most powerful tool that mankind has ever created is now in the hands of a ruthless corporate monopoly. And it's like a tweaky, like, scared emo. That's his name, right? Little red guy. Am I saying it?
Elmo.
Elmo. have I
Elmo.
have I been saying emo the whole time, or did I say Elmo earlier?
His name's Elmo.
Okay. So, anyways, I've in recent years, I've only heard, like, when Elon Musk is talking about artificial intelligence, I've only heard him talk about the risk it poses to humanity. I've heard him talk about how he's sat down with congressmen and senators, and like tried to stress how important it is that we do our best to make sure that the goals of AI as we're developing it align with the goals of humanity. And they're like, I've not heard him speak about AI in any sort of podcast or whatever that I've listened to with him, and him not bring up that point about AI. So it's like, maybe he's like, could care less if he's also developing Neuralink. And it's like, in my mind, it's like, how do you develop Neuralink and not have the possibility of integrating a powerful AI tool like GPT-4 or GPT-10 and Neuralink version 5? It's like, obviously, like, it seems like that's just, if humans are constantly innovating technology, it's like and capitalism is driving all of it, greed and currency and a free market. It's like you travel out into the future 100 years. It's like, yeah, all of the most competitive people on whatever Wall Street looks like in 100 years, they have Neuralink chips embedded in their brain, and GPT-10 is like firing away 24/7. And they've got
Sure.
a little fucking drone robot that flies around, hovers above them with a IV bag full of Adderall. It's like dripping into their bloodstream.
Well, that's actually the automatic trading done by AI. It's already a thing. It's already a thing.
Yep,
There are already buys and sells based on historical data that's training AIs um, taking place. Like that's a thing. But I think maybe in as you're explaining that, I was thinking, I guess I've confused different very vague things I've heard him say. One of them was Neuralink. One of them was like as an interplanetary. We're right now we're a planetary species and interplanetary species. I don't know if the moon considers us interplanetary. Right, it's a moon, but when we move to say an interplanetary species or a species that exists between multiple solar systems, I think I remember him saying something like, um, "If that's the way of progress, that's the way of progress." Something to that effect. I don't think it was around AI. I
sure.
think it was just in an evolutionary standpoint. And I think I confused that, and I appreciate you saying like correcting that on how he
Well,
feels. But
it seems like his interplanetary mission, like it seems like he just believes that inevitably one day Earth's gonna get by. It's gonna get hit by another asteroid that's gonna like,
a lot of people believe that. Yeah.
yeah, that's just gonna just completely wipe out civilization. The same way that an asteroid wiped out all the dinosaurs, except for them crocodiles. Or these crocs I got on my dogs right now. But could you imagine? It's 100 years from now. You're a relatively early colonizer on Mars, and you've got your telescope, and you're freaking honed in on Earth right now because everybody on Mars knows that there's a meteor the size of Texas about to plow into planet Earth, and it's going to practically level the entire planet. It's like, could you imagine that? I'm not saying that that's good or would ever happen, but it's like that seems within the realm of possibilities, astronomically speaking, and like it's about. Do you know what separates a planet from a moon? Like what? Because like our moon, for example, it's
Orbital body, right? It's
mm,
whatever that object orbits.
yeah. So like a moon is basically a small planet that's caught up in whatever its host planet is. It's caught up in that gravitational force. Whereas like a planet is caught up in the gravitational force of the sun. Very good. That'll
Is
be
that right?
a plus. Yeah, absolutely. Good job.
If I had a
Apparently,
Neuralink, you administering dopamine right now.
apparently our moon is bigger than Pluto. How's that make you feel? You feel like you got a pretty
Pluto's
big moon?
I'm with Jerry Smith on this from Rick and Morty. Pluto's a planet. I don't care what the backstory is.
You know, I'm on cloud nine right now because I listened to a Joe Rogan podcast earlier this week, and he had some science nerd on talking about psychology. And this guy claims that the average male reproductive organ, aka hashtag peckerwood, is 5.5 inches long, erect. How does that make you feel? Because I'm sitting
It's
pretty
not
high
better.
right now. I'm sitting pretty high right now.
Nine and a
I'm
half
on
doesn't seem so bad now.
cloud nine, dog, king of the world.
That's funny. What was Joe's reaction to that when he said that? Did he say anything?
I don't know. I don't think so. Because like, could
Probably
you
cut it
imagine?
out.
Could you imagine like the dead like as far as like poker tells go? Like if the camera just pans to Joe and he's like, oh, yes. It's like, okay, well obviously he's got a 6 inch dick.
Yeah.
Oh, good times, good times.
I'm gonna
You
have
got
to
anything
listen to
else
that.
for me? You
Yeah,
anything of value? I'm gonna
that's
get
it,
you a
man.
new hat. I'm gonna get you a new hat. I'm gonna get you a new sweatshirt. We're gonna redo all of this. You got a lot going on. It's not real good. It's not real great. I walked in. I said, "That's not a great sweatshirt." I saw Josh. I said that was the first thing I said. I came in. I said, "Hey, Josh, it's not a great sweatshirt." And then I panned up, saw the hat. I said to him, I said, "Hey, Josh, that's not a real great hat." So I'm gonna raise money. I'm gonna put together a GoFundMe. We're gonna get Josh a new sweatshirt. We're gonna get Josh a new hat. You can fund this sort of this passion project of mine by going to our website, joshandmark.com, and buying a sweatshirt. For every sweatshirt, for every 1,000 sweatshirts sold, I'll put a penny towards getting Josh a new sweatshirt. I'm just kidding. I don't even. Our website's down because our Shopify free trial expired. I don't even own the rights to the domain joshandmark.com, but I think we'll probably get it before too long. We're trying to figure out if we want to go Josh A and I'm sorry, AND Mark, or if we want to go Josh and symbol Mark. I don't even know if you can go with an and symbol in
You
a
can, but we
domain.
could do Josh N.
Ooh, we
Mark.
could. That'd be lame. So yeah, we'll probably go with Josh and Mark, maybe joshandmarkshow.com. No, probably just Josh and Mark. Josh and Mark is available. So if you want to go ahead and swoop on that domain name before we get our hands on it, and then, you know, try to price gouge us, more power to you. Wouldn't blame you. But yeah, Josh's sweatshirt and hat suck. I'm gonna try to do something about that.
I need help.
Should we call it?
Call it.
All right, brother. Hey, we love you guys. Unless you're a minority. And we extra love you. Y'all have a good day. We'll see you next time, brothers. I'm going to call you after this. We got some shit to talk about.
Sounds good.